To celebrate the Euros, get £20 in risk-free bets for the Euros when you join SBK. That's money back in cash on your first £20 of losses. Well worth a go, I think. Hello and welcome to episode 32 of Touchline Talk with Odds Changer. As usual, I'm joined by the one and only football writer and broadcaster, Dean Jones, to discuss all the latest news and gossip from the world of football. Hiya, Dean. It's been another busy week of games. Obviously, all eyes are on the Euros right now, but still lots of transfer rumours doing the rounds right now. And one man who possibly could be on the move this summer is Cristiano Ronaldo. Lots of talk that he could be leaving Juventus this summer, and he refused to rule it out himself while he was giving a press conference at the Euros. I know one team he's not going to be joining, that's Coca-Cola, after his little stunt in his press conference, but again, you just can't keep this man down, can you? Breaking more records, 2 goals against Hungary to make him the all-time record goal scorer at the European Championships, and also the first player to appear at 5 European Championships as well. So he might be 36, but he's still got plenty to give, really, in his career. And it's going to be interesting to see if he does leave Juventus and where he possibly could end up.
Yeah, I think what you say there is key, the fact that he's still got more to give. He's 36, but the way he looks after himself, the amount of water he drinks and the way that he keeps himself in shape means that he's still like fitter than most people that are like probably 5 years younger than him. And as a result of that, if he can avoid any serious injuries, then there's no reason he won't be playing at 40. So if Cristiano was to leave Juventus, he'll feel like, oh, well, I've got 3 years left in me, like 3 full seasons at least. And so it's not like he's going out here looking for a 1-year deal with people. Like, it's more than that. And I think that he's shown that he can still score goals. Every year at Juventus, he's got progressively better in his output, and he's still got more to offer. Both sides of this equation are open to the prospect of Cristiano Ronaldo leaving. His agent is looking for a new club. He's seeing what's out there. Juventus are in a bit of a tricky situation. They've got a new boss, and they're basically having to build 2 projects here. They're building a team with Ronaldo, and they're having to prepare also for a team without Ronaldo, because they really don't know which way this is going to go. I'd say it's going to be difficult to find a new club because there are only so many places that he can go, obviously. Now, one place that I could see opening up potentially is PSG. I think if you were to make a ranking of like landing spots and like ways it could open up, then it wouldn't take a lot to happen for him to land at PSG. They've got the money. If Kylian Mbappe leaves, then there you go. Man United is always touted, and people keep saying, I've read this for probably 2 years now, that Man United want Ronaldo back. I just don't see it, and I don't hear that either. I think the way that United are building, they've got Cavani in there as that man of experience now. They have Mason Greenwood, who they're trying to build as the next number 9. They're looking to get Jadon Sancho through the door to play on the other flank. Anthony Martial's days are probably numbered. I don't know. I just don't see Ronaldo particularly fitting in there. Then you've got the dream move, I guess, which is back to Real Madrid, which is what his agent will be pushing for. Not sure that door's going to open, but they're trying. And then there's kind of the fairy tale of him going back to Lisbon and playing for Sporting again, which has kind of been ruled out for now in previous quotes that I've read from family members or whoever. So I'm not sure that would open up right now. It's really interesting. I think you have to presume he stays at Juve for this last year of his contract, just because it's the most straightforward. And, you know, usually when there is a big transfer talk around a big player, the thing that is favourite to happen is that they stay at the club that they're at. As like, it's not very sexy, it's not very exciting, but that's usually what ends up happening. So we have to presume that he starts with Juventus. But it's really interesting that that's not necessarily going to be the case, and that Ronaldo might make another transfer. And in a year when we've been talking about Messi leaving, Haaland, Mbappe, Kane, like every big player in the world basically is being linked with transfers now. So Ronaldo's like, I'll have a bit of this as well. Let me just make sure that I'm in this conversation.
Let me get involved. Yeah, he doesn't want to be left out with all those top players across the world as well. But it was quite interesting, Dean, at that press conference with Portugal. He was very calm on his future. He didn't rule a possible move out as well. Juventus obviously had a very disappointing season last year, not doing very well in the Champions League. obviously surrendering the Serie A titles into Milan. So you'd be thinking, let's keep Ronaldo for another season, try and win that title back and have another go at the Champions League, because that was the main reason he was brought to the club.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And, you know, Allegri being back in there probably gives you more hope of that happening. With Pirlo, it was all a bit of an unknown and so inexperienced, obviously. So I think, you know, if you've got Ronaldo in there, there's an obvious chance to go that next step and actually get back in that frame again. But Juve, they are thinking of the future and they are starting to build. And you look at Chiesa and Kulusevski and these kind of guys that they're trying to bring in and build around now. And you think, okay, well, they have to start considering what happens next. So it might be that they are looking for the next generation, the next Ronaldo, if you like, but they've still got the current Ronaldo and he's still good. So it's not a nightmare if he stays. It's not like they need to force him out the door. I think the big thing as well is that, like, this isn't going to happen all of a sudden overnight. Ronaldo isn't, I don't see him announcing during the Euros that he's leaving Juventus. I think this is a story that we'll probably see carry on, like, and probably pick up a bit more once this tournament is over.
Yeah, his agent's going to be busy, I'm sure, sounding out potential clubs who could maybe afford Ronaldo. There's not many of those, as we well know, maybe PSG and maybe Real Madrid as well in that one. But what about these rumours of a Paul Pogba swap deal? Obviously, Paul Pogba has impressed for France so far at the Euros. Again, he's entering the final year of his contract at Old Trafford. No chance of this one happening, Dane, or is there potential that Pogba could go to Juve in an exchange deal?
It wouldn't surprise me if Juve came in for Pogba, but I don't see it being part of an exchange deal. I think that you're talking about two very different players, two very different ages. I don't really see them fitting in as a swap deal. They could be like transactions that happen at the same time, I guess. But again, I haven't had anybody seriously say to me that they think United will sign Cristiano Ronaldo. So yeah, I'm not going to get too excited about that one happening, although I'm sure there is still that storyline to be written about Pogba going back to Juventus.
Yeah, it's going to be another interesting summer. We always have summer transfer windows involving Cristiano Ronaldo and Paul Pogba, and I'm sure that will be the case this summer as well. Another player starring at the Euros has been Raheem Sterling for England. He got the winner against Croatia last weekend as well. Been a bit of talk about his future as well, Dean, of possibly where his future lies. He's got 2 years left on his contract at Manchester City. There was talk of a possible move to Barcelona in recent weeks after he lost his place in Pep Guardiola's starting 11. He's not really an untouchable there at the Etihad right now with Phil Foden and Riyad Mahrez probably ahead of him in the pecking order. But he's proven his worth to England so far in that game against Croatia. Gareth Southgate still obviously depends on him as well. But Raheem, again, wasn't given too much away about his own future when asked about it at the Euros. What do you think Raheem Sterling's going to be next season? I would fully expect him to be at Manchester City.
Yeah, he definitely had a frustrating year at Man City, but I don't think he'll leave. I think that there are other people that they are looking to get out. I'm sure everybody's seen the stories about Bernardo Silva. It's true that Bernardo is looking to move away from the Premier League. It's not that, you know, he's nothing against Pep Guardiola especially or anything like that, or Man City even. It's just he hasn't settled particularly well into the Premier League, doesn't like certain things about the Premier League or England, and that's fair enough. You know, he's given it a go. He's won a league title now, so Man City, as I understand it, won't stand in his way. Barcelona and Atleti both looking at Bernardo right now, and so that's one out the door. And then I think there'll be one other big name that leaves Man City as well this summer as they look to rebuild. Sterling's one of the names that's obviously been spoken about. Riyad Mahrez is another. Gabi Jesus is another that will be talked about a lot, I think. And I don't think Sterling is the player out of those that leaves. And one of the reasons that I think that Sterling won't leave is not only because he's done really well for Man City, like overall in his time there, but you looked at that England game at the weekend and you saw a front three of Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane and Phil Foden. And that's basically where Man City are trying to head. Like I think they're going to make an offer for Harry Kane. And I don't know, Raheem Sterling played a lot better with Harry Kane in that England setup than he has done for most of the season with Man City. And maybe he needs that presence of a Kane-like figure to thrive, to shine. Maybe I don't think he's particularly enjoyed his role at Man City over the past year. I think he's struggled, and if they want to give him a fresh lease of life, then bring him in from here. And I think it works the other way as well. I think Harry Kane working with Sterling and Foden is going to give him an appetite to want to join Man City even more as well. And then you throw Jack Grealish into the mix, who's training with them all the time, probably going to play with them soon. And you're like, yeah, you can see how that's starting to come together. So, you know, the links to Raheem Sterling leaving, there's definitely something there. And I think we've reached a point for the first time Raheem Sterling's had to consider what he does. He's always had like an urge to go and play in La Liga if he could. I don't think that door's going to open for him. The most likely thing that happens here, I think, is that Raheem Sterling signs a new contract before next season, and that Man City go again with him, and hopefully, you know, another forward that can help take them to that Champions League title they want.
Yeah, it'd be a really exciting prospect for Manchester City fans if they could have Sterling, Kane and Foden as their front three next season, possibly just like England had against Croatia at the weekend as well. As you said, Sterling's always fancied to move abroad, but probably the big guns can't afford him right now. The likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid probably don't have the finances to go out and sign Raheem Sterling right now. Also, a bit of talk, maybe talking of Harry Kane, that Raheem Sterling could be used as a bargaining chip in a possible deal for Harry Kane, being offered to Spurs. I don't think Sterling's too keen on that. I also don't think Tottenham are too keen on taking players in exchange either. So that probably kills that one, Dean, from happening as well. But Raheem Sterling, do you think his frustrations will grow at Man City and maybe delay the contract talks if he finds he's not starting more regularly for Pep Guardiola's side next season?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the discussions will take place, obviously, as soon as he's back in. Once the Euros are done, they'll properly negotiate what happens here. He's got a couple of years left. To be honest, they started talking a while back, and I thought the talks would have been done by now, and that he would have signed a new deal before the season was even done. But I think once you see him start to look like his old self, it's a big risk to let him leave. Like, I understand City want to rebuild and that they want to strengthen that starting 11 to go one step further and win the Champions League. I don't think that losing Raheem Sterling is particularly a way forward in doing that.
Yeah, I'm sure Pep Guardiola would love to have Raheem Sterling around, especially if he does lose the likes of Bernardo Silva or Riyad Mahrez this summer as well. But yeah, big future, big summer ahead for Raheem Sterling, who's obviously focusing just on the Euros now with England. But his future will be the subject of conjecture, I'm sure, as things draw on. Right, the Euros are in full swing now. We've had one game for each country, but the big game this week is England against Scotland. It's the battle of the old enemy. England got off to a winning start with a 1-0 victory against Croatia, while for Scotland, it was a back down to earth with a bump with a 2-0 defeat to the Czech Republic at Hampden Park. But two old enemies meet this Friday, Dean, at Wembley. It's going to be a great occasion, hopefully a great game as well. Do you give Scotland any chance of springing an upset?
I don't really, to be honest with you, no. And that's not just because I'm using English bias here. I am also just using like what I've seen and what the evidence is. England's 1-0 win over Croatia was pretty convincing in my eyes. I think England put in a very solid performance. I thought Southgate chose the right team. There's a lot of confident players in that squad right now, and that's without even introducing the likes of Jack Grealish and Jadon Sancho and giving Jude Bellingham more of a role. Like, there's a lot of players with a lot to prove still, and I just feel that this is a big ask for Scotland to get something out of this game. The 3-0 is jumping out at me, I've got to say. 41-5, 3-0 England win. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, you're expecting a convincing England win. I'd probably have to join you in that one, Dane. Although I'm a neutral, I've got no allegiances to either country. And in this game, I'm just hoping for a good game of football. But if England turn up, and you think they would get the job done pretty comfortably. So the prediction I'm going for is a 2-0 win for England. And that is 28-5 with SBK. I think that's the best price out there in the markets as well for a 2-0 win to England. But yeah, England should have too much quality for Scotland. And it looks like Scotland's Euros could be over after this game at Wembley on Friday. Another England player being mentioned with a possible move this summer, Dean, is Kieran Trippier, the Atletico Madrid fullback. Obviously, he was a bit of a surprise inclusion at left back against Croatia for England, but again, did a good job and didn't let anybody down. He's another trusted one for Gareth Southgate. Manchester United have been strongly linked with the former Tottenham man. Can you see him returning to the Premier League this summer?
I think he'd like to. It sounds like he'd like to from everybody I've spoken to about this. A lot is obviously going to depend on the fee that's involved and what United's overall transfer budget is for the season ahead. I think they're still waiting to actually find that out, if I'm totally honest. I don't think United know what they're able to spend overall. Obviously, Jadon Sancho is the priority. They know that the Glazers are going to spend more than they might have done in the past because of the fan revolt and the fact that they want to try and prove that they do have the club's best interests at heart. I'm sure most fans won't care what they say; they still want them out. But that's what they're going to try to do. But we don't know exactly what they're going to spend. So we'll have to see how much Atleti want for Kieran Trippier. 30 million I've seen touted. I don't think that that's a ridiculous amount of money. I'm sure United won't want to go as high as that, but I don't think that that's, that much. I think it's worth considering Kieran Trippier's versatility, but also his strength in terms of his fitness, his experience, all these different aspects that United don't necessarily have. And there is whispers that United will try a back three next season with Wan-Bissaka as kind of the right side of that back three, and that they'd look to sign a wing back if that was the case. And if they are looking down that route, then you could see why this makes even more sense. If you've got Trippier, who could do a job on the left if he had to, but would also be playing as a wing back with Wan-Bissaka there with him, and also rotating if they go back four on the right. Like, you do need that strength in depth if you want to compete for the Champions League, for the Premier League. And I guess it does make sense. The opening bid, though, £10 million, it's no surprise that that's not getting very far.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit of a cheeky offer from Man United in that one. From what I'm hearing, I think United got the research a bit wrong. They thought Trippier maybe just had a year left in his contract, but he actually has 2. So that wasn't probably the greatest start in that one. Yeah, I think Kieran Trippier is definitely open for this move to Manchester United. He's had a good time in Atletico Madrid. He's won La Liga. He's obviously still a mainstay in this England squad as well. But I don't think Atleti will make this easy for United. He's got a 40 million release clause in his contract there as well, so they'll probably be demanding that is met or as close to as possible for Manchester United. And as you said, Dean, United don't know their budget right now, and a majority of that is set aside for Jadon Sancho. So if there's not a lot left, they might have to give up on this Kieran Trippier deal.
Yeah, and you've got to consider that they're looking at other areas of the field as well. So they want possibly a centre back, possibly a central midfielder, like at least one of those positions. I think they'll be looking to recruit in. So then if they also got the right back, they've also got Jadon Sancho. Then you're looking at 3 or 4 positions basically where they're going to be looking to strengthen. And if you want to do that in terms of making your starting 11 stronger, then that's costing you a lot of money. And Trippier doesn't seem the most needed person, but again, it will give you a tool that is going to come in very handy over the course of a season.
Yeah, great option, I think, for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. As you said, his versatility would make him a key addition to the United side. He can play anywhere across the back and even as a wing back as well. So, yeah, let's see what happens with Kieran Trippier after the Euros as well. Sticking with fullbacks in Manchester United, an ex-Manchester United fullback's been linked with a move back to the Premier League in recent weeks. Ashley Young, fresh from winning Serie A with Inter Milan. It seems he could be on his way back to the UK. I think he's had interest from Burnley and 2 of his former clubs, Watford and Aston Villa, while Inter have offered him a new deal as well. What's your take on the Ashley Young situation, Dean? From what I'm hearing, I think this deal could be done pretty quickly and it could be a decision as early as this week.
A decision? Well, you think he's going to decide to come back?
Yeah, I think he's going to decide on his next destination this week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think he'll be back in the Premier League.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I think Inter Milan have made a proposal to him. I don't think that anybody that is at Inter Milan right now is going to be convinced into signing a new deal, especially players of experience, because it just seems like a mess. I was speaking to an agent that has players who work at Inter Milan, and he says, I just can't believe anybody's going to commit to this project right now because it genuinely is a mess. And even, Lukaku saying he's staying, I think that's just a a tactic to buy some time. He's going to wait to see like how bad things actually get. So, if he's leaving, if Hakimi's leaving, if I don't know Lautaro Martinez leaves, then why? I don't think that Ashley Young's going to see that there's much to gain in staying there. So I agree with you. I think he'll come back. I really did think that he'd look for the romantic ending and come back to Watford, where it all began for him, and his family they've all come through. His brothers are at Watford as well in the academy. And I really did think, and I think Watford did as well, to be honest, think that they might almost have a free run at this, and that Ashley Young would just come and help them in their first season back in the Premier League. But unfortunately, football doesn't work like that. And, you start to get other offers and you start to think, okay, well, do I want to be in a relegation battle? Do I go with Villa, who are looking to be a bit more ambitious and, potentially could be challenging that top six, if Villa keep showing the signs that they have in recent times. So it's a big decision for him. And I don't think you can necessarily let your heart rule your head, because it might sound nice to end up at Watford again. But if things go terribly and they get 15 points next season, then that's not a great way to be starting to wind down your career, is it? It's not much fun. So yeah, it's a tough one. Where do you think he'll end up?
Yeah, if I was a betting man, I'd probably say Villa. I think Villa could be a real option. As you said, ambitious club now, Villa, with the finances they've got behind them. He had a great time there before as well. I suppose a lot depends on what Ashley Young sees himself. Does he want to be playing regularly like he was for Inter Milan? Again, I think he's 35, 36 as well. So he's come to the end of his career. He's had a great career. He'll want to come back to the Premier League and bow out on a high, I would imagine. I'm not sure I could see him as a Burnley type of player, even though he does know Sean Dyche as well. But yeah, Ashley Young, I think, is a testament to what the career he's had, that he's still got this interest in him at his age.
And I think that, I think he'll believe he can get in the Aston Villa starting 11. He went to Inter Milan at a time when Man United fans were like, okay, Ashley Young, he's been great, but he's done now. I'm not sure why they're signing him. And he's been basically a regular at Inter Milan in a year when they've gone and won Serie A. So he'll believe that from the level he's been at to go into Aston Villa, fine, absolutely fine. So yeah, I think if he does go to Villa, then he'll believe that he is in that starting 11.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon where Ashley Young is heading, but it seems pretty certain that he will be back in the Premier League next season. One player who could be in the Premier League next season as well is the Blackburn Rovers striker, Adam Armstrong. Had a great season for Rovers this season, scored 28 goals in 40 championship games, just missing out in the Golden Boot to Ivan Toney. Lots of rumours, Dean, that he could be on the move this summer. I think he's entering the final year of his contract at Ewood Park as well, so Blackburn will probably need to sell him rather than risk allowing him to run down his contract. My understanding is that Norwich and Southampton are the two leading the race for this striker. We've also a possible interest from Everton and West Ham as well, but it looks like Norwich and Southampton are really pushing for this one. Possibly £15 million could get it done. Where do you see the next step for Adam Armstrong?
I'd throw Newcastle into that list as well. I think that they still want to be involved in that conversation. Some people they've thought a little while ago that they were the favourites as well. So I don't think they'll be too far away from that pack that want to sign him. I think it's a good signing. I think that looks like a player that can make that step and is ready for it. Obviously, it's disappointing Blackburn to lose somebody like that who's such a threat, but they're already working on players to replace him. So I think that they've pretty much accepted that this is happening now, and it's just a case of where he ends up. Where do you go? It's almost the other end of Ashley Young, isn't it? Ashley Young's got the experience and the belief in himself to go and make a challenge to get in a starting 11. But when you're a player like that, confidence is going to play such a huge part in how well things go for you in the Premier League. And so you need to know that you're going to get the opportunities, and not just for 10 minutes early on, but actual opportunities. And if you don't score, then you get another opportunity, because suddenly you get off to a bad start. You haven't scored a goal for 12 games. You're basically being written off. That's just how the Premier League works. So he's got to decide very carefully here over which route he wants to go down. All those clubs have got very different strategies. They're going to end up at various parts of the Premier League next season. And so it's a really tough call, I think, as to which is the best option for him.
Yeah, it's a big step up for Adam Armstrong if he does move up to the Premier League. We know the gap between the Premier League and the Championship is getting ever wider as seasons go on as well. if I was Adam Armstrong, I'd probably be thinking, am I going to get in that Southampton team? If Danny Ings and Che Adams are there as well, that would be a big worry for me. While if he went to Norwich, he would probably be the star man and starting every week as well.
That's
But
it,
again,
isn't it? Yeah.
on the flip side, you're probably going to be involved in a relegation battle with Norwich. So is that one of those ones? So big decision ahead for Adam Armstrong. I know Blackburn Rovers fans will be sad to see him go if he does end up leaving as well, because he was their talisman last season. But yeah, it looks like Adam Armstrong is going to get a second bite at the Premier League after a short spell at Newcastle when he didn't really get that opportunity in the Premier League with his boyhood club as well.
Yeah.
Moving on then, Dean, the managerial merry-go-round continues. It seems almost inevitable that Scott Parker is set to leave Fulham, but it seems like he's not going to be out of work for too long. Dean, with Bournemouth already lining up a move for him. As a Fulham fan, what's your whole take on this Scott Parker situation?
It's just been really frustrating, really, to see the club just. There's so much friction on the different levels. You know, Scott Parker's done a good job. He's done a remarkable job, really, to get them promoted in the first place, and for Fulham to even had a fighting chance of staying up on the basis that he'd never really built the team that he needed and wanted around him. I think the frustration for Parker was that as soon as Fulham were relegated, he was left in pretty much no doubt that next season in the Championship, he'll be working with players that he doesn't believe are up to it, aren't going to have the same vision for playing the same style of football to get out of the league as he wanted, and he wasn't going to be able to have much of a say in the type of players they bring in because, you know, the stats-based data that Fulham base signings on is something that he just hasn't fully ever been on board with. You know, he can understand the way the game's changing, but he also believes that you need to have faith in a manager's ability to spot characters and personalities that change the feeling within a team. And that's something that Fulham just seem to be closed off to. Scott Parker and Tony Khan have definitely had their differences, and I think this just seems like a perfect opportunity for him to walk away and into another job. I don't think he saw himself staying in the job at Fulham for very long, even if he did stay. But I think he feels that either results go badly and he gets sacked, basically, or this friction continues anyway and he's forced to quit because he just can't handle it anymore. So to walk away at a time when there is a job there waiting for him at Bournemouth, which there is, seems perfect for him. It's an interesting one because I think he'll just face different challenges at Bournemouth. I don't think it's going to be perfect for him. No. People that I speak to there say, look, they're pretty tight with money here and they're being a bit cautious about the way they build. So it's not like he's going to be able to go and get everything he wants here, but maybe he's seen enough from the people around that club that makes him feel like it will be a better environment than the one he's been working at Fulham.
Yeah, probably the big thing for Scott Parker is he'll probably get more control at Bournemouth than he has had at Fulham over the last couple of years as well. And big rebuilding job at Bournemouth as well after they missed out on promotion when they lost to Brentford in the semi-finals of the playoffs. And probably some key players will end up leaving the club as well. The likes of David Brooks, Dan Juma, all being linked with moves to the Premier League as well. So he's going to have his work cut out, Scott Parker, at Bournemouth. But talking of that, who do you see replacing him at Fulham possibly? Who would be your ideal choice to take over from Scott Parker?
I like the idea of Javi Pereira coming in. Pereira, he's been at Fulham before. He worked under Slavisa Jokanovic when Fulham were on the up and playing great football. He's really well liked around the club. It wasn't long ago that Sheffield United were looking at him. And as I understand it, it was at that point that Fulham realised that if Pereira was open to coming back to England, then he should be on their radar as well, just in case things did go badly with Parker. So he's been on their radar since then, and I know that conversations have been taken to just see how this could open up. I think that he'd be a really good fit for how they want to take things forward, but I do understand that names like Steve Cooper at Swansea come into the frame because, you know, there's so many other clubs looking at him. You have to consider him. He'd be a good fit with what he's done at Swansea this season. Has he got the personality for this team? Not sure. Could he handle the Tony Khan stats thing? I'm not sure. Not sure any manager's sure though until they're thrown into that situation. I don't think that there are many managers that don't want to have that control, and I think that a lot of people think they can deal with it until they're put into that seat, because Fulham managers have just found it so hard to take and to contain that frustration. They just can't do it for more than a couple of years.
No, when the results go wrong, you can't really blame the stats, can you? But Tony
Yeah.
Khan, as you said, is very reliant on these stats and does use them for transfer policy at Fulham as well. But Fulham need to get this one right, Dean. Again, they don't want to be out of the Premier League too long. So Scott Parker got them back up. So whoever does replace him will be given the task of trying to get them back to the Premier League at the first time of asking.
Yeah, and there's a lot of changes that need to take place. I mean, they've been considering the director of football. Let's see whether that can happen. Let's see what they do with the squad. It needs a little bit of an overhaul. Let's see if they can get some decent money for players that just aren't going to want to play in the Championship anymore. Obviously, a lot of players that they had in the Premier League were on loan, so you're now relying on players that were out on loan last season that you ditched because they weren't good enough for the Premier League. You've got to bring them back into the fold and make them feel happy again. It's a very, very difficult situation, but the core of the squad is good. They just probably got promoted too early, to be honest with you. Let's see if they can keep hold of Mitrovic, Kearney, the core of it all, and Tosin even, who's got a release clause that lasts about another month for a top club to come in and pay 10 million odd for him. Because if you could keep Tosin, I think you've got a good core there. But just as another angle to this, obviously, Jokanovic gone to Sheffield United now, and quite likes Tom Kearney, quite likes Mitrovic, and wouldn't surprise me if he tables an offer for one of those two.
Yeah, he'll maybe be looking at his old club to try and strengthen his new club in Sheffield United. But yeah, it's going to be interesting for Fulham fans seeing Slavica Jokanovic up against them next year, and probably Scott Parker up against them as well in the Championship. So it's the managerial merry-go-round, which never seems to stop right now. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer ahead for Fulham to see how they go about replacing Scott Parker. Right, that's us for another week here on Touchline Talk. We'll be back next week for more insight on the latest news and gossip from the world of football.